The hum of the office is different today. It isn't just the usual murmur of quiet conversations, the rhythmic tapping of expensive shoes against polished floors. It's something colder, heavier, the weight of indifference settling into every corner. Maya Brooks steps inside, heels clicking with quiet defiance. She doesn't belong here, she knows it. They know it. But that doesn't mean she'll leave without being heard. The folder in her hands isn't just paperwork, it's proof. It's her last chance at justice. And she's not walking away without a fight. They see people like me as a problem to ignore, a name on a file, a case they won't touch. But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. The receptionist barely glances at her before making a call. A moment later, a nod. He'll see you now. Maya straightens her shoulders. Inhale, exhale. Then she walks through the doors. The office is sleek, clinical, designed to intimidate. Ethan Reynolds doesn't look up as Maya enters. He flips through a stack of papers, his attention split between his work and the woman standing before him. When he finally acknowledges her, it's with a single glance, a quick assessment before his eyes drop again. Ethan, cool, dismissive, Ms. Brooks. Sit. Maya sets the folder down in front of him and sits, her back straight, her expression unreadable. The papers inside are more than just legal documents. They are the truth, and today she's forcing him to see it. Maya even controlled. I was wrongfully evicted. My landlord made false claims to push me out. I need legal representation. Ethan, flipping through the pages, unimpressed. These kinds of cases rarely win. Maya doesn't react. She expected this, Ethan still flipping through, detached. Evictions happen every day. If you didn't pay your rent, Maya sharper now, cutting through his words, I paid. On time, every month. This isn't about rent. It's about race. Ethan finally looks up, studying her for a moment. Then he exhales, sets the folder aside and leans back in his chair. Ethan, skeptical, uninterested. You think you can prove that? Maya leans forward just slightly. Maya, low, steady. I don't think. I know. Ethan watches her, something unreadable flickering across his face before he shakes his head. Ethan, blunt, final. These cases are dead ends, Ms. Brooks. Find a new place to live. For a long moment, Maya doesn't move. The words settle, pressing against her ribs, but she refuses to let them sink in, refuses to let them define this moment. Slowly, she rises to her feet, gathering her folder. Maya, quiet, firm. You don't know me, Mr. Reynolds. You don't know what I fought through. She turns toward the door, pulse hammering. Another dead end, another door closing, but then Ethan, hesitant, voice shifting. Wait. Maya stops, her breath catching. She doesn't turn around just yet. A beat, then another. The sound of paper rustling. He's reading. Really reading. Ethan, muttering, uneasy. Where did you get this? Maya finally turns back. Ethan is no longer lounging in his chair. He's sitting up straight now, flipping through the pages with something close to urgency. His fingers tighten around the documents, his expression darkens, and that's when she knows she has him. Cole sees it now, the shift. He is no longer in control. The story is no longer his to shape. He steps back, jaw locked, but the damage is done. His face, his words, his actions, captured. A reckoning in pixels. Maya exhales, the weight settling. Not fear, not defeat, something else, something stronger. Maya to herself steady. History doesn't forget, and neither does the world. The video spreads faster than Maya can process. Notifications flood her phone, mentions, reposts, messages from strangers, journalists, activists. The footage loops endlessly on screens across the country. Officer Cole's face, the spit, the slur, undeniable, unfiltered. It's no longer just her fight, it's everyone's. Social media post, trending hashtag. This is why we march. This is why we protest. Just justice for Maya. Dries, fire Cole now. On news networks, the footage plays in split screen, pundits dissecting every frame, headlines flashing in bold letters. News anchor. Tonight, outrage grows as video surfaces of a police officer using a racial slur against journalist Maya Carter during a protest. The footage has sparked a national debate on racism in law enforcement. Maya watches from her apartment, her hands gripping the phone. The world is watching, but she isn't relieved. She knows what comes next. She refuses to let this become another moment lost to the news cycle. She sits at her desk, fingers trembling, but determined as they dance across the keyboard. The article pours out of her, unfiltered, raw, a call to arms. Maya, voiceover as she writes, "This isn't about one officer. This is about a system that allows men like him to thrive. A system that protects them at the cost of justice." How many more names will we chant before real change comes? She presses publish. Within minutes, the article spreads like wildfire. Comments flood in, messages of support, shared stories of injustice, outrage fueling a movement. Random social see. Media comments. "Maya is speaking truth. We can't stay silent anymore. This isn't just one cop. This is a system. Officer Cole needs to be fired. Now." Maya exhales. She knows she's crossed a line, and there's no going back. The streets swell again. Protesters gather outside the police precinct, their chants echoing through the city. Protesters chanting, "Justice for Maya, fire Cole now." Celebrities and activists amplify the call. Politicians weigh in, carefully crafted statements trickling onto social media. Senator's statement, tweet, "Racism has no place in law enforcement. Officer Cole must be held accountable." Justice for Maya. The pressure mounts. The mayor can no longer ignore it. But behind closed doors, hesitation lingers. Cole leans back in his chair at the precinct, arms crossed, the hint of a smirk on his face. His fellow officers exchange wary glances, but he remains unbothered. Officer Cole, casual, smug. "They won't do a damn thing. They never do." A sergeant steps forward, voice low, cautious. "Sergeant, you need to lay low, Darren. The unions. Handling it, but this is big." Cole scoffs, rolling his eyes. "Officer Cole, please. The mayor's a coward and the chief, he won't cross us. This'll blow over in a week." But deep down, a flicker of doubt creeps in. This time, it feels different. Maya's inbox is a battlefield. Praise and venom in equal measure. A text from her editor makes her stomach turn before she even opens it. Editor's text, "Come in, we need to talk." At the newsroom, she braces herself. Her editor leans forward, fingers steepled, expression unreadable. "Editor, you're doing important work, Maya, but maybe take a step back. Let the dust settle." She lets out a sharp laugh, incredulous. "Maya, you mean let them win?" A beat. He sighs. "Editor, I mean be smart. The paper's getting pressure from advertisers, corporate interests. It's complicated." Maya, cold, firm, "No, it's not." She stands, knowing the cost, knowing the fight has only just begun. Her phone buzzes, with messages she doesn't want to read, but she does. Anonymous message, "You should have kept your mouth shut." Another message, "Hope you're ready." "We are." Her breath catches. A chill creeps up her spine. Then, outside, a sound. She peers through her blinds. A note is tucked under her windshield wiper. She steps outside, heart pounding, fingers trembling as she unfolds it. Note, scrawled, menacing, "Watch your back." She grips the paper, knuckles white. Fear crawls up her throat, but she swallows it. She won't be silenced. She sits on the couch, staring at the note. Then, the memories creep in. Her father's voice years ago, warning her of the world's cruelty. The night he came home, bruised, bloodied, silent. The false arrest that stole his faith in justice. She was 12, watching her mother clean his wounds in the dim kitchen light. He never spoke of it, but she understood. Young Maya, voice trembling years ago, "Did they hurt you because you're black?" Her father's eyes, tired, pained. Maya's father, softly, "They hurt me because they could." The memory fades. But the weight remains. At a press conference, the police union rep takes the podium, flanked by officers. Union representative. Officer Cole was under extreme stress in a tense situation. The video lacks full context. We urge the public not to rush to judgment. Maya watches from her laptop, jaw tightening. Maya muttering, "They never take accountability." The union's playbook is predictable, but this time the public isn't buying it. Behind closed doors, the mayor and police chief argue. Mayor, frustrated, "If we fire him, the union will turn against us. If we don't, the protests will get worse." Police chief, "We announce an internal review. Buy time." Mayor, scoffing, "A delay tactic." Police chief, "A strategy." Maya reads the statement when it's released. She knew this was coming. She clenches her jaw, then picks up her phone, dialing a number. The next protest isn't just about Cole. It's about the system that enables him. A sign in the crowd catches her eye. Bold, defiant. Protesters sign, "Justice for Maya." Justice. For all. Activists and journalists dig. And they find everything. Complaints buried, cases dismissed, a pattern undeniable. News. Headline. Breaking. Officer Cole has a history of misconduct. Why was he still on the force? Maya stares at the A screen. The truth is out, and the city can't ignore it anymore. The pressure is relentless, the truth undeniable. The city is left with no choice. News anchor. Officer Darren Cole has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Maya exhales. A small victory, but not the war. She knows the real fight is far from over. Maya, whispering to herself, this time they don't get to bury it. And the world keeps watching. The city holds its breath. The emergency meeting begins. The council chambers are filled beyond capacity. Activists, journalists, community leaders, and police officials occupy every seat. The air is thick with tension, unspoken but palpable. Outside, the voices of protesters roar, their chants reverberating through the walls. Protesters chanting outside, "Justice for Maya! Justice for all! No more cover-ups! No more lies!" Inside, city officials exchange wary glances. They have been forced into this moment, dragged into the reckoning by the sheer weight of public outrage. They know what's at stake. And yet some still hope to contain the fire. Council chair clears throat, then speaks into the mic. "We will now hear testimony from Maya Carter." Maya feels the weight of every threat, every slur, every warning she's received. Her hands tremble slightly, but she hides it well. She reminds herself this is bigger than her. She stands, smooths her blazer, and walks toward the microphone. The cameras are rolling. The world is watching. Maya, steady but firm. "Good evening, my name is Maya Carter. I am a journalist, but tonight I am here as a citizen demanding justice." Her voice echoes through the chamber. She takes a slow breath. She cannot afford to waver now. She recounts the night in vivid detail. The protest, the confrontation, the moment Officer Cole spat at her feet and called her a slur. Her words are measured, deliberate, but the emotion beneath them is raw. Maya, pausing, then looking directly at the council. "Members, I expected his hatred. What I didn't expect was the silence that followed." A few officials shift uncomfortably. The truth is an unwelcome guest in this chamber, but it refuses to be ignored. Maya, stronger now. "I'm not here just to talk about one racist officer. I'm here to talk about a system that allowed him to stay in uniform, despite a history of complaints. A system that shields men like him, time and time again, while punishing those who dare to speak out." A murmur ripples through the room. This is no longer about one man. This is an indictment of an entire institution. Just as the council chair prepares to move on, there is movement in the crowd. A man, nervous, hesitant, rises from his seat. A police officer still in uniform. He steps forward, and the room stills. Council chair, frowning. "Officer, identify yourself." Officer Williams, voice trembling. "My name is Officer James Williams. I have something to say." Gasps ripple through the audience. Maya's breath catches. A cop, breaking rank? This is unheard of. Officer Williams, hesitant, but growing bolder. "I've served on the force for 8 years, and in that time I've seen things I can't stay silent about anymore." He pulls out a stack of documents, hands shaking as he places them on the table. A reporter leans forward, eyes widening at the contents. Reporter, whispering, Internal. Complaints. Dismissed reports. Officer Williams, voice cracking. Darren Cole should have been fired years ago, but every complaint against him, excessive force, racial profiling, intimidation, was buried. Covered up, signed off by his superiors. The chamber explodes into noise, shouts, exclamations of shock. The council members scramble, whispering among themselves. The mayor's face is pale. This is no longer just... Maya watches the energy in the room shift. This is no longer just about her. The crowd is rising, activists standing, voices growing louder. Activist number 1 calling out, "This is what we've been saying for years." Activist number 2, "Firing Cole isn't enough. We need a full investigation into this department." Council member, hesitant but cornered. We will conduct a full review of Officer Cole's actions and..." Crowd, interrupting, chanting. Not just Cole. The whole system. The pressure is unbearable now. The council members exchange looks. They know they can't ignore this, not anymore. The council chair lifts a piece of paper. The final decision. He clears his throat, but his voice is unsteady. Council. Chair, after reviewing the evidence and in light of new information, we have made our decision. A beat, silence so thick it could shatter. Council Chair, Officer Darren Cole is hereby terminated from the police force, effective immediately. The room erupts. Cheers, shouts of relief. Protesters outside catch wind of the decision, and the celebration spreads like wildfire. Protesters outside cheering, "We did it! Justice for Maya! Justice for all!" Maya lets out a slow breath. It's done. A rare moment of accountability. A step forward. But she knows this is not the end. She should feel victorious, but as she steps outside, watching the faces of the people who fought for this moment, she feels something heavier. Maya, softly to herself, one officer, but how many more? The system that allowed Cole to thrive still stands. The battle is far from over. But tonight, just for a moment, justice won. And tomorrow, the fight continues. Maya sits at her kitchen table, her laptop open to a sea of headlines. Every major news outlet is covering the story. Her name is everywhere. The victory should feel sweet, but something lingers, an unease she can't shake. News anchor, voiceover from the TV. Officer Darren Cole has been officially terminated following a citywide investigation into police misconduct. The case has sparked national debates on law enforcement accountability. She scrolls through her inbox. Messages flood her screen. Some are messages of gratitude, support. Others are darker. Threatening email. "You ruined a good man's life. Hope you're ready for what's coming." Another message. "Watch your back, bitch." Her stomach tightens. She clicks her phone screen. More unread messages. She hesitates before opening them, already knowing what they'll say. The price of truth is high, and she's paying it. She steps out of her apartment, keys clutched tightly in her hand. The air feels heavier than usual. She glances down the street and freezes. A black SUV sits parked across from her building, engine running, tinted windows, unmoving. Her pulse quickens. Is she imagining it? Or has it been there before? She pulls her coat tighter, forcing herself to walk to her car. Voice from behind Maya. She turns sharply. It's Jordan, her closest friend, standing on the curb, concern etched deep into his face. Jordan, lowering his voice. "You see it too, don't you?" Maya nods slowly, her throat dry. Jordan. "I've noticed it circling your block for the past 2 days. You need to get out of here." Maya, hesitating. "And go where, Jordan?" "Anywhere but here, at least for a little while." She exhales, the weight pressing in from all sides. Fear is creeping in, threatening to consume her. Inside her apartment, a suitcase sits half-packed on her bed. Clothes folded neatly, toiletries lined up. Her fingers hover over the zipper. Leaving would be easy. The threats, the SUV, the looks. From officers who still believe Cole did nothing wrong, she could disappear from it all. But then she sees it, her father's old notebook, peeking out from her bookshelf. She picks it up, running her fingers over the worn leather cover. Flipping it open, she finds his handwriting, bold and unshaken. Her father's words, written years ago. They will try to silence you. They will try to scare you. But silence is their greatest weapon, and fear is their sharpest tool. Don't let them win. She exhales sharply, closing the book. The suitcase remains open, untouched. But she knows now she isn't leaving. A voice too loud to silence. Instead of disappearing, she does the opposite. She takes to social media, to interviews, to the streets. Her voice amplified louder than ever. She partners with civil rights organizations, lending her platform to a movement larger than herself. Maya, speaking at a rally, voice strong. This is not just about me. This is not just about Darren Cole. This is about a system that has allowed racism and brutality to thrive unchecked for generations, and we are saying no more. The crowd erupts. Fists raised, voices unified. The energy is unstoppable now. She sees it in their faces. Hope, anger, determination. They are ready. And so is she. Under mounting pressure, lawmakers begin responding. New policies are proposed. Police oversight. Committees. Stricter consequences for misconduct. Transparency measures. It isn't everything, but it's something. Thy crack in the foundation. News report. Voiceover. In response to recent protests, city officials have introduced a series of police reform measures aimed at increasing accountability within law enforcement. Maya watches the announcement from her laptop. It's not enough, not yet, but it's a start. She allows herself a small, fleeting smile. The cemetery is quiet, the wind carrying the distant sounds of the city beyond its gates. Maya kneels before the gravestone, tracing her father's name with her fingertips. The man who taught her how to fight, how to stand even when the world tried to break him. Maya, softly. I did it, Dad. I finally understand why you never stopped fighting. It wasn't about winning. It was about making them listen. She presses her palm against the cold stone, the weight in her chest a mix of sorrow and strength. Standing there, she makes her choice, not just for herself, but for the voices lost, for the injustices still waiting to be exposed. Maya, whispering resolute, I'm not done yet. She straightens, the fire in her eyes burning brighter than ever. She walks away, but not in retreat. She walks toward the fight that still awaits. The protest swells larger than any before it. The streets are packed with thousands. Black, white, young, old marching together, signs raised, voices carrying into the sky. And at the center, Maya walks, her head high, her steps steady. Protesters, chanting her name. Maya, Maya, Maya. She doesn't bask in it. She doesn't crave it, because this was never about her. She turns to the crowd, to the people, and lifts a fist high into the air. The chant shifts, becoming something more powerful. Protesters, voices unified. Justice, now! Justice, now! Maya walks forward, not as a journalist, not as a victim, but as a leader. The fight is far from over. But tonight she knows one thing for certain. This time they won't be silenced.